Keep watching the video to learn about the detailed inner workings of the skill-based matchmaking Call of Duty system, as well as how it affects you as a player. We've theorized before that Call of Duty is factoring in performance from previous Call of Duty games in present day to determine your skill-based matchmaking rank, and now we have confirmation of that on top of uncovering the literal commands and code of the skill-based matchmaking algorithm. I saw we have a friend who he messes around and does weird stuff, breaking various Call of Duty games and seeing what the results are. He just messes around a lot with stuff, and sometimes he finds some interesting stuff, sometimes it's just funny. He found something that I thought was insane. Like, genuinely, I've not seen anyone talk about this. Here's his tweet. Some of the skill-based matchmaking SBMM parameters used in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare all the way back in 2014. I wonder how many of these are still used today. Games straight up checked how good you were in Black Ops 2 and Ghosts.
Yep. And that's important because we all know that Advanced Warfare was the first COD that had at least strict skill-based matchmaking. Some devs will allege that COD always had skill-based matchmaking. I'm not so convinced. Maybe a team balancing algorithm, absolutely. Advanced Warfare is the first COD that definitively had strict skill-based matchmaking in it. And it was their guinea pig, their test run at implementing that in COD. Unfortunately, the game was not well received. It wasn't very good when it launched, and of course it completely changed the dynamic and the identity of what COD was. It's important because most of the patents that Activision has on their skill-based matchmaking algorithm, on things that have been kind of discussed and interpreted from reading the patents by the community as maybe being skill-based hit reg, skill-based damage, skill-based aim assist or bullet magnetism, things like that. Most of these patents are a decade or more old. The formulas and the systems used in Advanced Warfare are most likely the same, if not slightly different variations of the same formulas being used today. Improved, better calibrated, and tweaked settings to make it even more effective. It would stand to reason that they use the same systems, more or less, obviously they've improved today, that they did 9-10 years ago. Advanced Warfare pulled your stats from Black Ops 2 and Ghosts to determine how good you were likely to be at Advanced Warfare. We theorized this, you and me, Chandler, because we got Modern Warfare 2, right? We skipped a year with Vanguard. Didn't buy it, didn't play it.
We played a lot of Cold War. We played a lot of Cold War.
Played a lot of Warzone, MWII 2019. Yep. And I played every freaking COD. I was max prestige, played competitive in every COD. Vanguard was the only COD that I did not ever play since COD 4. We got on Modern Warfare 2, and our first game ever, first match, level 1, was like COD champs, dude. It was nuts.
Yeah,
how
day
hard
one of
trying.
launch.
Yeah, day one, first game, like using the default classes.
Yep.
It was nuts how hard everyone was trying. And we kind of theorized that through anecdote, right? Because it used to be in the older CODs, and you guys that have played for a long time, back in Black Ops 2 and MW3, when you make a new account or you're level 1 and you search for a game, magically, everyone in your game is level 10, level 15. There's not really any prestige players in there. The game kind of categorizes you in with a group of people that are also new, low level in the game. They consider it like it's like combat training, right? Like we actually got combat training as a game mode in Black Ops 1 and 2. But that system of new players getting put together was always a thing. When we played Modern Warfare 2, after taking a year off, first game level 1, it was insane. And we, through our own anecdote, theorized they retain legacy stats, and if the SBMM parameters are tied to your Activision ID, not the game you're playing. And it makes sense because you have this cross-game progression system, right? Where when Cold War was out, you could play Warzone, you could play Cold War, and you would level up and you would make Battlecraft progression. It shared it. And we know all the way back to, I think it was Call of Duty Elite in Modern Warfare 3, when that came out, that there was this Activision account tied to your gamer tag or the system you were playing on, right? If you played on PlayStation or Xbox, you could go and log in on your computer. You had an Activision account, a Call of Duty account within their system. Now we see this come out about Advanced Warfare. This basically proves that you are being held to a standard that you met 2 years ago, 3 years ago, in a different COD game.
If you look
from
right
a different
here,
developer,
now
in a
this is
different engine.
This was all the way back in Advanced Warfare.
9 years ago.
And just keep in mind, as we're saying, this was Advanced Warfare, and we have this article of a old Call of Duty developer who says that SBMM is always getting better. These systems that they're using, these algorithms that they're doing are getting better. It's not like they came up with it at one time and it's what they use for everything. It's just always evolving, always improving. So with that in mind, you go to these commands. So it's, okay, if this was an Advanced Warfare, imagine how it is now. Imagine how complex it is now and how much more it's doing. Right here we see matchmaking _ Black Ops 2 _ onboarding _ skill. Onboarding skill. Now that onboarding skill, that onboarding period, there's a period before they have enough data to understand what bracket you should be placed in. There's this period where it's still collecting data and you still have to keep playing it, winning and losing matches and stuff, and it has to figure that out. So there's like this onboarding kind of period before it says, oh, this is where you belong in the algorithm. This is your rank. So in that onboarding period for Modern Warfare 2 2022, we experienced our onboarding skill bracket that we were in was really high for some reason. And we thought that was weird. It was obviously very high because we would go and play with a friend of ours who is way lower with their onboarding skill, and their lobbies were magically excessively easier. How is that possible? It's the first day the game came out. We haven't done well at all, and we were still getting acclimated to the game, by the way. We were still like figuring things out. Didn't know what guns were good. Like we weren't like just going off immediately. We were in these high skill lobbies right off the bat, and it's because we were placed in high level skill bracket based on the onboarding skill, probably related to Call of Duty Cold War, maybe even aggregated from you playing World War II. I don't know. And so here we see Call of Duty Ghosts is factored. Black Ops 2 is factored. It's going back several CODs to get that skill level related to how you've performed in games, which games, by the way, are nothing like the game that you're playing. Like Advanced Warfare at that time was the most uniquely different Call of Duty in terms of mechanics, class setups, everything, verticality, gameplay flow, everything was different in Advanced Warfare, yet still they were factoring in your performance in Call of Duty games that were nothing like Advanced Warfare. Who's to say if I did well playing in Modern Warfare 2019 that I would do well in Modern Warfare 2 when mechanically they're a lot different? There's no advanced movement in Modern Warfare 2, for example, like there was in 2019. There's a lot of differences, and yet you're being judged on your performance in these games that are nothing alike. That's crazy. The fact that there's no longer even a period where, look, if your Activision account has touched another Call of Duty game before, you're still going to be tethered to the skill-based matchmaking system strictly. There's no way to avoid it other than completely creating a new Activision account, buying the game on a separate account, and playing it on there, and not playing any other Call of Duties previously. Like that's the only way you could, in theory, smurf at this point. You
can't take a year off and buy the new game. Like and that's why it matters, right? That's why this matters and why it's a problem, is because it doesn't matter how long you go without playing. It doesn't matter if you skip a COD.
There's no cooldown.
There's no cooldown. There's no warm-up period. The moment, like for example, I think in Cold War, like you had a 2 KD, I had close to a 3. We take a year off, don't play COD at all. Immediately, just immediately put in COD champs, like the CDL grand finals.
We don't even get a moment of normalcy.
Not even one game. With the default classes at level 1, not even one game.
Don't even get a chance.
And it's just crazy because this matters, because once you as a player get pretty good at a COD game, you would basically have to reverse boost and tank your stats into the gutter to get out of where you are forever. If you played competitive COD and you were pretty good 4 years ago, but now you're older, you don't do that anymore, you have a job, you have a wife, you have kids, and you don't play COD like that anymore, doesn't matter, because they're pulling your legacy stats and permanently entrenching you in miserable, sweaty lobbies. It's insane. Like, the game is unplayable. It's actually unplayable.
Look at all this. Look at all this effort being put into trying to just pinpoint how sweaty your lobby should be. Skill type, I'm so interested to see like what that
I'd
means.
really like to
skill
know
type.
what that entails.
You can be in this upper bucket, a lower bucket. There's these 4 parameters that, so like skill-based matchmaking is a complex algorithm. Don't get me wrong, it's very complicated. You could, in theory, if you had all the data, you could do the math on it. That's where SBMMwarzone.com arrived at. They were able to figure out, I don't know if they had figured out all the algorithm, but at least part of it. So these parameter delta, gamma, lambda, and Z, those are just those different mathematical portions of that equation that converge, and those are set variables that all contribute. Delta may be, that may actually be referring to your kill death ratio. Gamma may be referring to your win-loss ratio, but they're not going to say like parameter underscore win-loss ratio.
Score per minute.
Yeah, that's like too
accuracy.
long. That's like too long of a variable name, so they're going to shorten it. So those
and it can also be data mined, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly, and it would be easier to data mine. Look, this is Advanced Warfare. I haven't seen anyone even find this or talk about this. It's been years. So like, these games are pretty well adjusted for data mining, and it's pretty hard to uncover these things. But here we are. Skill enforcement, I don't know what that means. There's so much that like makes you wonder about how this works, but you could even see right here, skill-based matchmaking allow skill-based, enabled skill-based. So you could actually, in theory, turn off skill-based matchmaking for a lobby or for a session,
with one
for
command
a player.
With one command input.
Probably for a player, you could potentially disable their skill-based matchmaking. Now, am I going to sit here and say that what we talked about earlier with Huskers and what we've talked about with Scump, how these streamers and competitors are getting in easier lobbies using VPNs and using whitelisted lobbies from the developers, am I going to sit here and say that the developers may have also just completely disabled their skill-based matchmaking, which before seeing this I thought was far-fetched, but now I can see there's literally a command just simply dedicated to do that? Of course I would never imply that, because that would be crazy, because everything we've said up until this point was crazy, and there's no way any of that happened, right? Thanks so much for watching the video, guys. If you enjoyed and want to see more, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell as well to be notified, like the video, comment down below, let us know what you thought about what we talked about today, join the Game Gains Discord to become part of the new community, follow the podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and the like, and also keep an eye out for part 2 and 3 of this series, where we're going to be interviewing the person who found this code, as well as a new video where we examine other companies being transparent about their skill-based matchmaking algorithms, and we explain why Call of Duty will never do that as well. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned.